Thank you for being here. I am Omen the Love Angel. I am guided by the resonance of Mercury. I convey messages tied into the celestial shifts for the evolutionary elevation of the collective. I do want to preface that I will do my best to edit out any interruptions from external sources that are coming through that are continuing to disrupt my channeling. And there will also be pauses throughout this channeling that I will be taking because I myself am transiting a heavy journey at this moment as I traverse the stars to bring forth this message. The image that was brought forth to me by God, Source, the Divine, the Holy Spirit, whatever it may be for you, is the image of the Virgin of the Rocks by Da Vinci. The portal that we are about to cross is exactly the symbolism tied into this image. The full moon is meeting us in the tomb, is meeting us in the sign of Scorpio, representing the justice of resurrection. And it will then transition to Sagittarius, which represents from the tomb to the guiding star of our higher truth. Now, in this painting, there is water that surrounds the cave itself and flows through it. These flowing streams of emotions, acknowledged by the action that is offset by the Archangel Uriel. The Archangel Uriel represents the solar plexus, meaning the internal governing power. The angel is the catalyst, which is pointing towards John the Baptist, utilizing its right hand, which is within its masculine energy. The pointer itself represents Jupiter, the Guru, the great benefic, which is the Lord of Sagittarius. In the image, the mother embraces John with her right hand, encouraging the prayer that John the Baptist is offering Christ. The stillness to receive as she blesses Christ with her feminine dominant hand is the acknowledgement of the glory of the child. As Christ blesses back John with his right hand, the action of give and receive, for one initiates the other through baptism. And through this christening anointings, then Christ elevates the ministry of John through actualizing him as the greatest prophet who ever lived. And all of this took place in the Jordan River, which means to descend, to flow, symbolizing the rebirth of this crossroad towards God's inheritance that is awaiting us all. No different than the blessing that Christ gives. It's a perfect triad, which is found within the same image. Nombre del Padre, del Figlio, Spirito Santo. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Divine Mother Spirit, which are all one. It's the triad to move forward in actualization. These solar flares that we are going through are helping us reach new angles that are needed to construct these renovated foundations so that our conduits may receive the necessary downloads to assist the shift. Pardon me. Currently, there are many who are being catalyzed into an initiation. Many are finding themselves in a initiation of truth because they believe that their true actualization was fame, fortune, and notoriety. But as I mentioned many times before, I believe even in my last video, when we construct over false foundations that haven't been reinforced by true spiritual work, true spiritual evolution, then it is no different than building on sand before the tide comes in. And when these solar flares start bringing forth that which must be acknowledged, then many start to question their path and journey because they followed what they believed was true. And of course, this isn't to say or point fingers at all. It's just, many can be at this moment dropping, who they were, dropping even a label of spirituality and fear of not knowing where they stand. The truth is that it's just a new portal opening towards true self-actualization and true governance of their soul's path. Now, self-actualization through the creation that is needed, as I've stated again and again, I'll die on this hill saying this, is not about fame nor fortune. It's about creating new structures that, if sustained through the tribulations, will then be supported and shall expand in the assistance of all to help others fulfill their thirst and where they need to stand in their truth. Knowledge of good and evil. When we're going through this path, and we're awakening, going back to the solar flares, where many are coming to terms with their spiritual truth, releasing themselves of the false matrix, because matrix means mother in Latin, the falsehood of what was constructed, which is many of the chosen, get stuck in that because obviously we know that that which has been occulted isn't for everyone to find out currently at this moment. Many aren't prepared, and that's perfectly fine. But for those of us who have reached a true higher elevation in our own journey and path, the more we allow ourselves to actualize ourselves, irrespective of what it looks like, thank you. fortune and fame, restitution, divine blessings. Beautiful. 66, 56, 69, 8. I'm not saying that, at some point, fame and fortune aren't part of the path. All I'm saying is that it isn't about that. Because when we make ourselves believe that, then we are building on falsehoods. We are building on smoke. And this portal, this full moon portal, is allowing us to see where exactly we need to take that inspired action. And like I've stated many times before, it's about the structure, it's about the foundation. And if one is, working on one's health, on one's body, if one is, on that level, then the structure to work on is the body. And we can think like, well, how is that going to help externally? And the thing is, it's not about actioning without the protection. It's not about it's not about actioning without the light. One must take one's solitude as a divine instruction to rebuild. And that's when prosperity will begin to flow into our lives, because we will begin using our intuitive action. And when we allow ourselves this time to flow with that foundation and reinforce it, things will then come to you. They will be magnetized as they are meant to. Because the work that needs to be done is no longer an external work. It is an internal force that then allows the divine source, God, the Holy Spirit, to bring forth a different reality through working on that foundation, unfolding one's destiny that is meant to be. Because everything in this realm is of abundance. There is nothing in lack. That is all based of the false matrix. The new beginnings that are coming forth come through us as conduits that we are. When we allow ourselves to receive these holy divine downloads on how we are to move, on how we are to collaborate with each other, and truly understand that if you're watching this, then you are part of the universe. And the changes that one needs in support of one's journey will come forth. They will materialize. But we must always use our internal divine knowing, our discerning, guiding light, remembering that the mind contains both the reptilian descent and the spirit. And we must learn to walk in a calibrated path. And then we will be able to truly see what path needs to be corrected to reach true homeostasis. And through this, we will find ourselves experiencing the loss of that which we thought was solid, of that which we thought was true. Because when we take these steps forward to allow the divine to truly set forth we begin a we begin a refinement process when we're not in our true north, and everything that must collapse will in order to sustain this new structure. The foundation must be intellectual lucidity. The foundation must be supported by one's full understanding of where one is at and not where external sources think one should be. As the veil continues to thin, because there are many veils yet to be met by many, the structures that we are founding must release any prejudice and be in discernment. Prejudice and discernment. Which is where, like a lot of times and I said this a lot, I'm crying underneath the neck, right? Um, I've said this time and time again, wealth, fame, fortune are not all indicators of divine favor. They're just not. I'm not saying that it's not part of it. What I'm saying is that we must allow ourselves to see outside of that, specifically if we hit a certain level where we feel that we might be above others. That's where humility must step in our structure, in our foundation of this new beginning that we are all experiencing. So that we understand that, like I've stated before, we're all part of the universe. We all have cause and effect depending on, how we're moving in the realm. And any elevation that we have experienced in this land doesn't necessarily, pardon me, doesn't eliminate the acquirement of the effects of our causes, because, as within, so without. It's all a mirror. And when we understand how this scheme is truly played, then we work more in unison. We work more through our heart space as the childlike being that source, the divine God, needs us to be. Through altruistic kinship, through just literal friendship. Because we all have our own struggles. We all have our own unfoldment to go through. But we also must not judge. We must also not put more energetic pressure on those who are going through their tribulations. As we continue to evolve and understand that what we're leaving behind, this resonance of energy that we're leaving behind, is for others to embody that and even higher and better resonance. And when we truly get that, like, And you have to see it like a computer. Like, it's either we actualize or degenerate. There's no in between. It's like when you have to update your phone, your computer, your apps, whatever, if you don't take if you don't take the necessary action to actualize it, then it becomes stagnated, then it becomes, then it starts freezing, it starts stripping out your phone, your apps, your computer, whatever, your electronics. And that's no different with us because there is no separation. Everything is one, and everything we go through, everything that we're seeing externally right now with, these natural events that are happening are all tied into our bodies, into our emotions, into our fears, into our lack of understanding for one another, in support of one another. And when we fail to realize how our lives impact the external, then we have yet a lot of work to realize within ourselves. So this whole moon is a portal that, and I've stated this again and again, like we're gonna keep going through portals, like we're gonna pass, and others are gonna come forth and they're gonna go through the portals. But what's important is to understand what's coming forth for us to grasp within and truly hold in our hearts to allow it to then, you know, bloom within us, to truly bloom in that sincerity, irrespective of where we find ourselves. And to understand that anything external is just the facade. That's just a false measurement. Because in reality, we were all born to be abundant. It's just the tainted programming has kept us in the dark. And it expands a certain angled reality that has been supported for too long with our projecting minds. But when we learn to expand and allow these new flares to actually help us touch our center, then we become this new angle that then refracts a different type of a light, which expands the possibilities and our capabilities to achieve a new reality in the realm through our actualization. I hope it's making sense. Actualization is what the spirit needs in order for it to feel complete. And it's not so much of the outcome, but it's about serving its codification on the land and the impact it came to serve. And when it does that, then it helps elevate its vibration into a higher frequency of knowing and being. And no external source can diminish what has already been acquired through the experience. And that's something you carry on to your next reincarnation. And that's what is exactly needed. That is what is exactly being called upon us. To not desist, to not give in, to know that if we are going through the internal processing of recalibration, to not be afraid or to think that we did something wrong. It's a correction that is necessary. It's a correction that is needed now more than ever. Thank you for watching this far. I'll be back soon. I'm sending you all so much love. Peace.